Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Foreign news have been reported by American news channels and the news agents. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, the monster hurricane, now the horror reveal, the death toll growing tonight. What our team has found after Hurricane Melissa, images of the devastation coming in, slamming into Jamaica as a Category 5 hurricane. All of Jamaica declared a disaster area. Tonight, families who were holding on to parts of their homes to survive this. Lee Goldberg with the new track. In the U.S. tonight, the heavy rain and winds hitting the northeast tomorrow. Also breaking the verdict. The former deputy charged with killing Sonia Massey in her kitchen asked why he didn't use his taser instead of his gun. Tonight, what the jury has decided. The teacher shot by a first grader tonight for the first time. The body camera video showing the moments after that teacher was shot by a 6-year-old. Tonight, the government shutdown day 29. More than 40 million Americans set to lose food benefits. Republicans blaming Democrats. Democrats blaming Republicans who they say have refused to address health insurance premiums set to skyrocket for 20 million Americans. Just hours from now, President Trump and China's President Xi, will there be a trade deal? And President Trump tonight and what he's now saying about a third term. Back in the U.S., the dramatic rescue, the seniors saved from a fire, first responders carefully carrying them to safety. From Paris tonight, the breaking headline involving that heist at the Louvre, what authorities have now revealed. And now in New York City, authorities say thieves dressed as construction workers here, stealing $3 million in jewelry, this time from a home. Along the east coast tonight, 5 homes collapsing into the ocean. The dramatic rescue, the dog clinging to its side of a cliff, the firefighter rappelling down to try to get to that dog. What rescuers say the dog did when they got to it. There is news tonight, a murder suspect freed by mistake where they're now searching. And the driver who pulled over choking, what she was choking on, and the extraordinary timing that saved her.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight here with Hurricane Melissa, the monster.
Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley will hold a news conference today on the Biden administration's targeting of Republicans. House Republicans just released new documents revealing a far larger scope of an FBI investigation into the January 6th Capitol riots and the 2020 election. It was called Operation Arctic Frost, and House GOP are saying those documents show Arctic frost actually may have targeted 156 Republican officials, lawmakers, further than what we were first told. Here's House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan.
What we've learned is it was much broader, much more expansive than we ever thought. This is the same Jack Smith who we already know spied on 8 United States senators. Now we learn all this. Was this a political operation you guys are running against President Trump? How many other members of Congress did you spy on? Those are the kind of questions we want to ask Jack Smith and see what kind of answers we get from the guy who ran this whole operation.
And focus now, Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor, former Republican congressman of Utah. Have you ever seen anything like this? You were chairman of oversight. What is happening?
The size and scope of this is just unparalleled. 156 people that we know of. There is a separation of powers in this country, and yeah, what Jack Smith is allegedly doing was just a dragnet. What was the predicate to justify such a wide array, to such a net out there? That is absolutely stunning. I'm glad Senator Grassley's on top of this. He's one of the best in the business, best there's ever been in terms of oversight. I think the numbers and the gravity of what we're going to see are going to be absolutely stunning. And how they did this, why they did this, it's just not justified. You can't go after that many people with what? And what charges were there? Relatively nothing.
Well, look, with all the documents that are coming forth now, will the public, do you think, be likely to see exactly how they were looking for these things? Because, I've interviewed Senator Blackburn about this. She was on the list. She can't figure out why in the world she would be on the list. And they were using wiretaps and all of that. I think it's worth the American public knowing how far they went.
Yeah, President Obama likes to go back and say, oh, he was scandal-free. But then you got to remember that it was the Obama administration that had allegations of spying on, the media, the Associated Press, James Rosen, others remember what happened in the Senate under them. Then you have Biden come along. And then you've got what Jack Smith is doing here in his allegations. And the way he went after Donald Trump with bringing cameras in tow, guns ablazing into Mar-a-Lago to go through Melania Trump's unmentionables drawer. Like, seriously? This is...
Tonight, the new images of Hurricane Melissa's direct hit on Jamaica, the most powerful storm to ever hit the country, carving a catastrophic path of destruction and leveling entire communities. The monster hurricane ripping off roofs, flooding streets, and cutting power to nearly 80% of the island nation. Homes, hospitals, airports all ripped apart. Thousands of tourists now trapped, unable to get out. Our team on the ground as the scale of the unfolding crisis becomes more clear. The death toll now rising after Melissa tore through Cuba and Haiti. The verdict just coming in, a jury convicting the former sheriff's deputy who shot Sonia Massey in her own home of second-degree murder. Her family reacts tonight. The chilling new footage, police with guns drawn entering the school after a teacher was shot by her 6-year-old student. Our first look tonight at the gun fired by the little boy. First responders rushing into a burning senior center, breaking down doors to save the people trapped inside. The high-stakes meeting, President Trump, just hours from meeting China's leader. One issue of contention, illegal fentanyl coming into the U.S. Our exclusive access tonight inside of a Chinese fentanyl factory. Why they say they're not to blame. The Louvre heist update, the partial confession that could break open the entire case. The dramatic rescue, a dog falling off a cliffside, somehow clinging to a ledge. Rescuers rappelling down with rope to save him. And the wild scene, a monkey loose inside of a Spirit Halloween store. Wait until you see how this one ends. Nightly News starts right now. This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yonas. And good evening. It was the
I'm Jeff Bennett. On the News Hour tonight, much of Jamaica is left with severe damage and no power in the wake of Hurricane Melissa as the storm batters Cuba and the Bahamas.
Vice President Vance and Charlie Kirk's widow host a college event in Mississippi, aiming to chart a path forward for the young conservative movement.
And federal funding cuts force many top researchers, including the man known as the Mozart of math, to consider leaving the U.S.
The worst case scenario, which I didn't wait out, maybe the institute closes down, I can no longer fund my students. I have to find another option.
It's like we're cut off from the rest of the world right now.
Hurricane Melissa's mayhem through the Caribbean this Wednesday night.
I need some help. Please, I need some help.
The devastation and where the storm is headed now. The Bank of Canada slashes its key interest rate again. Why the central bank felt it was necessary and why future cuts may be unlikely. Calls for an apology from the American ambassador to Canada after his tirade over Ontario's anti-tariff ad.
The chief slipped off the cracker, I get it, you're ticked off.
Plus, the grit and glamour of the World Series as the Jays dodge defeat to even the score.
National with Donna Freezy.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The most intense hurricane to hit Jamaica since records began has left a trail of devastation across the region. Now a Category 1 hurricane. It is heading to the Bahamas, and the islands it's already ravaged are dealing with disasters. In Haiti, the hurricane dumped such heavy rain there is extensive flooding across the country. At least 25 people there have died.
Devastation across the region. Now a Category 1 hurricane. It is heading to the Bahamas, and the islands it's already ravaged are dealing with disasters. In Haiti, the hurricane dumped such heavy rain there is extensive flooding across the country. At least 25 people there have died, and others are missing. One death has also been confirmed in the Dominican Republic. And it barreled through Cuba overnight, causing widespread damage there. Jamaica's leader posted these aerials of the devastation in his country. 8 deaths have been confirmed, and much of Jamaica is without power and difficult to access. Jackson Prosco has our top story tonight.
Jamaicans awoke to devastation. Homes are gone, hospitals flooded, the landscape forever changed.
A lot of my friends' house is gone. Nice home.
In Black River, where the storm made landfall, there is catastrophic damage.
Yesterday was very windy, scary. We have to find out next to home for safety.
77% of the island is now without power. Communications have largely been cut off, leaving officials with little sense of who may be missing or who may need help.
At the moment, what we are seeing in preliminary assessment.
DemocracyNow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israel has killed at least 104 people in Gaza, a third of them children. Journalist Mohammed al-Munirawi and his wife were among the dead. They were sheltering in a tent in Sadat in central Gaza. Israel's killed at least 250 journalists in Gaza since October 7, 2023. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz claimed Hamas fighters were targeted in retaliation for the killing of an Israeli soldier in Rafah Tuesday. Hamas said it had no connection to the attack. Here's Abed Al-Waida, a Palestinian man who lost his nephew in an Israeli strike.
They struck us at 4 in the morning while we were sleeping. They killed us, and they killed the children at 4 in the morning while we were sleeping. They struck us.
Last week, when 2 Israeli soldiers died in Rafah, questions were raised about whether they drove over an unexploded ordnance. According to the aid group Humanity Inclusion, clearing Gaza of these ordnance will likely take between 20 to 30 years. We'll have more on this story later in the broadcast. Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Cuba today as a strong Category 3 hurricane, according to the National Hurricane Center. Cuban authorities evacuated 3/4 of a million people ahead of the storm. Melissa hit Jamaica yesterday as a Category 5 hurricane, lashing the island nation with 185-mile-per-hour winds, leaving more than 500,000 people without power. We'll have more on this story later in the broadcast.
The Pentagon confirmed Monday it carried out another 3 military strikes on 4 vessels in the eastern Pacific Ocean, killing at least 14 people. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth again claimed the boats were being used for narco-trafficking without providing any evidence. One survivor was rescued by Mexican Navy authorities about 400 miles from the coast of Acapulco, as Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said Tuesday her government does not support the strikes. Since September, the U.S. has carried out attacks on at least 13 boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific Ocean, killing a total of more than 50 people in strikes that have been widely condemned as illegal. The U.S. government secretly attempted to bribe an airplane pilot working for Venezuelan President.
Hurricane Melissa, blamed for dozens of deaths on a rampage across the islands of the Caribbean, flooding streets, destroying homes, and knocking out power. We're on the ground in hard-hit Jamaica.
Once the roof was gone, the walls had no chance.
Sheriff's Office. Also tonight, an Illinois sheriff's deputy is convicted of murder in the shooting death of a woman who called 911 to report a prowler.
She called for help, you all, and she was murdered in her own home.
Presidents Trump and Xi about to meet face-to-face for the first time since the U.S.-China trade war broke out. And a few words about our feline friends in need on this National Cat Day.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois. John Dickerson is on assignment. Hurricane Melissa has left dozens of people dead as it tore across the Caribbean islands of Jamaica, Cuba, and Hispaniola. It was downgraded today to a Category 1, but still a dangerous storm. Melissa pounded Jamaica yesterday as a Cat 5, the most powerful hurricane ever to make landfall on the island. Jason Allen was there when it struck. Today, you got to look at the damage. The Monty Quinn is tracking Melissa as it heads now for the Bahamas, but we begin with Jason in Santa Cruz, Jamaica. Jason?
Maurice, in the main road that goes through Santa Cruz is just one lane of thick mud tonight. This was where a wall of water rushed down out of the mountains.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.